Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. How are you, Lee?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm excited we're doing a webinar here. This will be fun.
I know. Same here. I'm excited to talk to our credit unions and attendees here today, and a little bit about our partnership and a little bit about some of the new services and capabilities we have together.
Fantastic. Yep.
I'm trying to share my screen here. Are you able to see that, everybody?
I do not. Here we go. It's coming now. Excellent.
There we go. All right. Let's do some introductions.
Sounds good. Want me to go first, Lee?
Go for it, Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob Skelley. I'm vice president over in our channel organization with Arctic Wolf, and I'm excited to be here to talk with Lee a little bit and talk to you all about incident response and some of the capabilities we're able to bring to market together.
Thanks, Bob. My name is Lee Bird. I'm the president of Btech. We provide IT services specializing in security and compliance. We currently work with over 130 credit unions across the country. We have a really incredible partnership with Arctic Wolf. We appreciate all that they do for our credit union clients, and super excited to share with everyone this morning some information about Arctic Wolf's new Incident Response Jumpstart Retainer, IRJS service. So Bob is going to help us go through this, and what we're hoping we can provide is some really good information about how this service works. We know all the credit unions out there need it. So thanks, Bob, for taking some time to do this with us this morning.
Absolutely. Excited to be here. So I'll start with this one, Lee, a little bit of background, and then I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the partnership. But Arctic Wolf, who are we? We're a very large security operations organization, 600 different security team members, over 2,300 employees now across our organization. And the primary services that we talk about is managed detection and response and managed risk and managed security awareness, which is about educating your employees. And then today we're going to go a little deeper on this incident response jumpstart. And one of the things I was sharing with Lee before we came on today was we ingest over 500 billion security events a day. And just to give you some context on that, there's about just over 300 billion emails sent globally on a given day, and about 6 billion Google searches done on a given day. And we're doing 500 billion security incidents that we're evaluating on a given day. So Lee, just a lot of volume there that we're processing.
It's insane. And, Bob, I mentioned we started the partnership with Arctic Wolf about 2.5 years ago. And really what we found with our credit union clients was the real need for that true 24/7 security operations center, or SOC experience, the managed detection and response. The credit unions, there are lots of compliance requirements. So the examiners are coming in, telling them what they need to do. But ultimately, the goal is to get more visibility. We've seen a lot of tools getting installed and that sort of thing. But even if your team is working 12 hours a day, that leaves 12 hours that nobody's looking at the alerts or anything else. So the relationship really began with that need for that visibility, the managed detection and response. But what we love about the partnership is there's these other services that are so valuable as well. So the managed risk being the vulnerability assessment, and the managed security awareness, we know that the cyber awareness training for the staff is so critical. So Arctic Wolf's been a great partner, and we know a lot of the credit unions out there have really had great value from this service. So it's wonderful.
We love the partnership. It's been a great one, and we love your focus on credit unions and the ability to bring our solution to credit unions, and having a partner that's so knowledgeable about this space and the needs of the credit union customers. So excited about that.
Thanks, Bob.
This first slide really talks about some of the information that we got from a combination of a business unit we call Arctic Wolf Labs, which is a research division within Arctic Wolf, and then the data that we gather from doing incident response for clients. And we collect that data and we aggregate it, and we identify some key findings that we learn out of this. And this shows you of the industries that we're seeing around incident response, who's being affected most regularly. And you can see healthcare and finance right at the top. So credit unions in that finance category, one of the top categories that we're seeing affected by ransomware events, business email compromise, and just threat actors in general. Lee, is this aligned with what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, the credit union industry is just getting slammed. It's really bad. If we had this conversation 2 years ago, I think we would agree that the goal of these threat actors would be to encrypt a server, demand a ransom to get the encryption key, $15,000, and you get your email server back, or whatever it might be. That's not what they're doing anymore. These attacks that are focused on credit unions are to steal the member information. They're getting into the environment. They're laying dormant in the environment for days, weeks, months. Sometimes we don't even know. But the goal is to steal that credit union member information. PII for a credit union member on the dark web is selling as high as $100 per member. So if you have 23,000 members in your credit union, there you go. The other thing that's really sad is, now, unfortunately, you go to a credit union website and there are banners on many now that talk about a recent breach. And so we're seeing this. We know it because of the reporting that the NCUA and the local state examiners require as well. So the visibility for the credit union members is out there. And ultimately, the damage is the member loses trust in the credit union. So it's really unfortunate that the credit union industry is being, here they are, the second highest targeted industry, but there's a lot of value in that member information, that PII. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And nobody's immune. And so the next kind of piece of threat intelligence we wanted to share was really about, okay, how are they getting in? What's their root point of compromise, as we call it? And it's a big part of what we want to identify every single time we help a client through incident response. We understand how they get in so that we can make sure that we're doing things from a security strategy to assure that that doesn't happen again. And still, about 2/3 of the time, it's still from what I would call external factors, or some kind of patching that wasn't done, or a technology exploit that they're taking advantage of. So certainly that remains the biggest threat vector, but humans and users are still 1/3 of the way that they're getting in. So it's a big two-prong approach that you have to take in really to protect your organization. But Lee, how are credit unions responding to this threat vector around user action in particular? And are you helping introduce that to their organizations and helping them navigate that?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. So this slide is going to change in the next year. It's right now, we've been talking about it for the last probably 8-10 years, is the importance of vulnerability assessment, and more importantly, vulnerability remediation. So we know that what these bad guys do is they exploit known vulnerabilities that haven't been fixed. So the vulnerability can be a default password, it could be a patch, it could be a firmware update. And that's what this slide shows. What we're seeing in the credit union space is an incredible focus on business email compromise. And often, and I know through the Arctic Wolf Labs, we've seen examples of this. One of their favorites is basically a redesigned Microsoft 365 encrypted email. And the challenge with business email compromise is it's not a spoof, it's not phishing. They are in a person's mailbox, and it's now they've got access to that address book. And so I get the email from Bob Skelley, and I go, well, Bob and I were just emailing yesterday, but that's what they're doing. And so that user action is going to continue to expand. It really continues to emphasize the importance of that cyber awareness training for the employees. Bob, I love talking about this. I call it creating a culture of awareness. You have to have a culture in your credit union where everybody, whether it's somebody on the teller line all the way up to the CEO, they're all in this together. We're all on the same team, and we're going to help each other. So I think this pie is going to start going like that, and we'll probably see it more 50-50. That's my opinion in the next year or so.
Yeah, we have the same thing. We talk about a security culture as well, and how important it is to have everybody in the organization really be thinking about security every single day in the jobs that they do. So how are you advising customers to mitigate some of these threat vectors today?
Yeah, so it's basically we kind of have this template of services that we do for our clients. So we talk a lot about that cyber awareness training, which I mentioned before. It's not that expensive, and it really does add a tremendous amount of value. We absolutely are implementing multi-factor authentication in all of our client environments. We're looking at data protection, data backups, multiple frequent data backups that are out of the region, and copies as well. We also talk a lot about the managed detection and response service that I mentioned earlier. Almost all of our credit union clients have implemented that at this point. Again, just to get them some additional visibility into, into their environment. But I guess last, vulnerability assessment and remediation. I mentioned that before. So those are kind of sort of the standard services that we're putting into all of our credit unions, whether they're a small credit union or large, whether they have an internal IT department or they outsource. Again, everybody needs help, and that's what we're doing for a lot of these credit unions now.
Excellent. Thanks. So this next slide, really, just a question to think about as you're listening to some of the things we're going to talk about over the next few minutes. And the first is really, how much preparation has gone into your credit union's incident response readiness? Are you thinking about it? Are you planning for it? Are you putting a roadmap in place for what you're going to do when and if you experience a security incident like that? And do you have a plan in place when you have a security incident that's safe, secure, accessible, even if your systems are locked up, and available to you, so that you have a blueprint that you can follow? So we're going to talk about a few things, Lee, I think here, and hopefully the folks listening to us today can be contemplating these questions as we go through.
Bob, it's crazy. A lot of people you ask, do you have an incident response plan? And they don't even, like, it's kind of hard. Like, what is that? Is it an Excel workbook? Is it a Word document? What is it? And everybody kind of has a different visibility. What I will say that's come up in conversation a lot with credit unions recently. So as of February 1st, the NCUA put into effect new guidelines. It's called the ISE, the Information Security Examination. Those rules are broken down into 3 sections, and sections Core and Core Plus both speak to the importance of an incident response plan multiple times. It's probably almost 20% of that ISE now. So we know these attacks are happening. We know that there's great services out there to help protect the credit union, but what are you going to do when an event happens? And that's why we're here today. So this is, I'm excited to share, again, some more information about how we can help the credit unions with this need for an incident response plan.
Yeah, that's perfect. And, even in the cyber insurance industry, they're starting to ask customers for, what's your plan? What are you going to do if there's an incident in your organization? So I would expect even cyber insurance companies are going to, start to tie some of their rates. And a big part of really where our incident response team has spent a lot of time is getting to know those cyber insurance organizations, getting to know the privacy attorneys, and that whole ecosystem around incident response. So there's some expertise there that hopefully we're able to help navigate for you and for your clients and the credit unions. Yep,
absolutely.
Great. So a little bit about how we came about with the strategy that we deployed around Incident Response Jumpstart Retainer. We spent a lot of time talking to partners like Lee on what they were hearing, what they were seeing with their customers, with credit unions, with banks, with healthcare organizations, so customers and partnerships alike. And what we heard was a fairly consistent theme. One was around, we don't like large upfront costs. It's too expensive the way that the retainer market has presented itself. There's upfront hours that you have to pay for in advance. You may never use those hours, and then you're stuck trying to burn those service hours down late in a contract term. And it just wasn't something that was sitting well with customers and with partners alike. And then there was really a desire around three other things. One was around planning, and we've talked a little bit about that. And Lee, I'm going to ask you to reflect on this in just a moment. But it was planning. It was, we want a really fast SLA. We've got an issue going on here, and we want someone that's going to be incredibly responsive, get back to us quickly, and make sure that we have professionals that are helping us navigate the landmines ahead. And the last thing is they wanted some financial benefit for having a retainer in place. And so we'll talk about all those things in just a moment. But I think you've heard a lot about this large upfront cost component, in your journey. Can you share a little more about what you've heard and what you're seeing?
Yeah, it drives credit unions crazy. So we have seen that in the past, most vendors that would provide incident response retainers required the purchase of a large amount of hours at a very high rate. And whether those hours are used or not, I think, what we were seeing is in some cases, for just a normal sized credit union, a smaller credit union, having to spend upwards of $20,000, $30,000 a year for a retainer. And again, one of the challenges that we always saw is that we get to December and we're, burning the hours. We're trying to come up with a tabletop exercise or something to go through blocks of hours. It doesn't work. And, that's really one of the reasons why when I first saw how Arctic Wolf designed your incident response retainer service, I got so excited because again, credit unions, they are, not for profit and anything that they can do to meet those compliance requirements, but do it affordably, really be, good stewards of the members' investment in the credit union. That's what we're all about. And this service does that. So super excited to again, share how Arctic Wolf is doing that.
Excellent. Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about a new approach and what we're bringing to the table. If we go to the next one here, there's really a few observations that we wanted to incorporate into this new offer. One was we wanted that fast SLA that everybody wanted. We wanted a financial benefit, a rate that you knew you could count on as a result of having this retainer in place, meaning an hourly rate that when there is an incident, your statement of work is going to be built around a discounted hourly rate that you can count on. We wanted to make sure that you had an IR team that was well-versed in the cyber insurance marketplace, that understood attorney-client privilege and the privacy attorney market and all the things that come together as part of an incident response journey. We wanted to make sure you had a team that was well-versed there. And then we talked about it a couple times here, but we wanted to give you a level of preparation so that you could move faster in the event of an incident. And we wanted to bring all those to the table. So if we go to the next one here, this kind of summarizes all those benefits. So we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about IR planning and how we're approaching that. We have a 1 hour SLA, Lee, so really fast. And quite honestly, I've been working really closely with our incident response team for about a year now, and very often they're getting back to a customer within 15 minutes. So it's 1 hour SLA, but it's oftentimes even beats that 1 hour SLA. This complementary scoping call, I think, is a really important benefit. So what it means is that we will respond on that SLA. We'll get on the phone with the client, with the credit union. We'll talk through what's going on. We'll try and understand what the environment looks like and if it's really an incident that we can help them with. Is there really an active incident, active breach going on that we can help out and get them out of a jam? From that, we'll take the information we've gathered and we'll prepare a statement of work that we'll present to the credit union for them to decide if they want to move forward with our incident response service. Up till that point, there's literally no hourly costs, fees, any kind of burden on the credit union in terms of cost. This is all complimentary. We get in there, we dig in, we find out if we can help, we prepare a statement of work, and then they can determine if they want to sign that and work with us through that case. So I think that's a really important piece.
Yeah,
Lastly,
Bob.
You go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Lastly, just that, we brought that preferred pricing. There's actually a fairly substantial discount off our regular pricing that we offer through this retainer. And then all those cyber insurance relationships, Lee.
Yeah, and I think it's important for the credit unions to understand that, again, this incident response retainer does not mean that the credit union is somehow locked into only being able to use Arctic Wolf. It's really, there's a true planning phase. There is actual documentation and steps and processes. Really, one of the values, like as you pointed out, is this complementary incident scoping call. So we've seen recently with some credit union vendors that many people on today's call probably know what I'm talking about, where there was a large breach that affected a lot of credit unions about 2 weeks ago. The question I was hearing from a lot of credit unions was, am I affected by this? And that's the kind of thing that a vendor like Arctic Wolf can help that credit union through, is to basically say, was there a VPN back to this vendor? You have managed detection and response with Arctic Wolf. We didn't see anything. Let's go back and look for indicators of compromise. But all of those sort of things could be defined through that statement of work that Arctic Wolf would do. So again, I think there's so much value here. And really, again, it's what an incident response plan is supposed to be. It's not just supposed to be some Word doc that's sitting in the CEO's drawer. This is really a true relationship. So I really love that about this as well.
Yeah, and all of those benefits, whether you use us for the incident response, as you mentioned, or not, you still have that IR plan in place. You can still leverage that with another incident response firm if you need to. So, all those benefits are still in place, whether we do the incident response work or not for you. So I thank you for kind of calling that out. This is what the IR plan process looks like, right? So this is just a screenshot, but I'm going to just quickly take you through some of the things that we capture. And the idea is to prepare left of boom, as we like to say, so that right of boom, you're moving quicker, you're back in business faster as a credit union, you're not losing time, business hours with your members, and you're up and running and back in business. And so we capture some critical things. First of all, who's the key people on your team that'll be involved if there is an incident? We want to know that. We want to know if there's any third-party providers or relationships that are critical. So this is where you'd list Btech as your solution provider and managed service provider. You could list your privacy attorney if you had one, your cyber insurance organization, or any other IT companies that you're working with can be captured, listed here, so we know that we have to pull them in as part of the process. We capture all of the network information, infrastructure, data and systems, so that we know where all of it is. We can dig in, make sure that we know where those assets are, and can make sure what could potentially be affected. We want to know what the incident response process is that you want to follow. Who gets notified first? Who's on backup? What's the 24/7 procedure? All those things we want to capture here in the plan. And then lastly, we want to know what are the most critical systems that we want to get up and running first. And so all of those things are captured here. It's stored in a safe, secure environment where you can access it through a web browser if you need to. Even if your systems aren't available, you can access it through another web browser with your password and credentials, and be able to access that plan. It's dynamic. We build on it. We evolve it over time. It's not a static document. You can export it and print out a paper copy as well if you want that, right? But the key is that you have to have a plan that you can access, that it's not locked up in a server that's been compromised, and that you can utilize this anytime that you need it. Thoughts on that, Lee? Any other things to?
Yeah, this is the one piece to this that I really like is that incident escalation, because you're predefining sort of that what you're going to do. And as you sort of mentioned before, who gets the first phone call, and if they're not available, who gets the next call, and so forth. I also think it's valuable for a credit union that this is the type of plan and resource that is not just stuck with IT. So obviously your board of directors, maybe somebody that's on the IT steering committee, they would want to have access to this, the CEOs or other C-levels. So credit unions really rely so heavily on IT, but with that board of directors and having to do reporting to them also, which is super important, the examiners want to see that, allowing them access into this as well is super valuable. So again, just the way that the solution is delivered works really, really well as well. It's not like a team has to come out spend 2 days creating this and giving you a binder that sits in somebody's office. It can be put together dynamically as well. So you could have different departments. Hey, we need to know what programs you need access to in the event of a disaster or an incident. What's important to your team. And so it really it flows very well in the ability to sort of create it.
Yeah, absolutely. And very intuitive. So it's very easy to navigate, and you don't have to complete it all at once. Like you said, you can complete what you can, come back, get another department involved for the specialties that they own, and continue to evolve it and create this. And they can also leverage Btech to help them with this, right? You can sit down with them and do some of the planning and provide that as a service with your clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is just a snapshot of what an incident response timeline looks like. And so an incident happens. The first thing we wanted to do was give your credit unions a lot of different ways that they could get a hold of us, because in a moment of crisis, you don't always remember what the 800 number was or what website, but this way we've captured a lot of different ways. You can go onto our website, and there's an experience a breach button right on our website that you can click. They can reach out to you, Lee, and ask you to get moving on an incident response case for them. And you can navigate all of that. They can call our 1-800 number and talk to one of our security triage analysts who will know that they have a retainer with us and escalate that appropriately to the incident response team. So a lot of different ways for us to meet all those benefits we talked about around SLA, and get to a scoping call and get to an SOW very, very quickly, so we can get in there and start doing some work for you. And then we have this concept called an elastic response framework. And really what this means is that we have people within our organization that are very specialized in what they do. Some are more specialized in digital forensics. Some might be more specialized in locking out that threat actor and making sure the environment and the threat is contained very quickly. And so we're able to bring these different resources in throughout the incident response process, and bring more resources when we need to, and bring the right resources when we need to, and flex resources in and out to move very quickly. And if it's a very complex, large case, we can bring more people. And if it's a more straightforward case, we can do it with fewer people. And we only, bill for time and materials. This way, you're not paying for that entire team unless we're using it, right? And so we come out of that process, though, Lee, and the idea is we want to make sure that the organization, the credit union, knows what happened, that you're there with them in a consulting fashion to think about what the next steps are and how we're going to get better and emerge stronger out of this breach and learn from it.
That's the piece, right? It's ultimately we want to make sure that the credit union emerges stronger, but that elastic response makes a lot of sense, Bob. And it, even strong IT departments, when there is a breach or a suspected breach, everybody needs help. It's like, even if your IT better than anyone else possibly could, I know for a fact that the Arctic Wolf triage team and some of these analysts, once they're able to sort of identify who these threat actors could be and sort of what they do. Like this group, we believe it's this group, and they run Python scripts, and so we're going to go in and look for Python scripts or whatever it might be. And so you really have to have a team of people that are experts and they see this stuff and they know what to do. So this works so well. And again, it's already prepared ahead of time, so we're not trying to figure out what we're going to do on a Sunday at 2 PM or whenever this event occurs.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is just some of the next steps, right? So let's not wait till an incident occurs, right? So this is all about having that plan in place, making sure that you've captured critical information so that you can move really fast, know who your incident response team is internally, have a plan, know how you're going to navigate that plan. Make sure that you're prioritizing that incident response plan as part of your strategy. And then understand how your cyber insurance policy plays into all this, what your coverages are, where you're covered, who that insurance carrier is. And by the way, as part of that planning, I had mentioned it, we capture that cyber insurance organization. We make sure that they know that we're the incident response firm that you've got on retainer, so that smooths out that process as well if we go that route. And then know exactly who to call if an incident occurs.
Makes sense.
So Lee, I'm going to leave this to you because I think this kind of wraps it up and next steps and call to action here.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So we do have a plan. We have a plan for the incident response plan. So this sounds crazy, but I know for a lot of credit unions, unfortunately, we tend to sort of wait to the last minute. We know the examiner, the NCUA, the state, whoever is coming in September, and oh gosh, we still don't have that incident response plan put together. The first thing we can do is I am confident that from today, we could have this plan up and running for your credit union within 30 days. It's not a heavy lift. The other thing is part of this, as we shared before, you don't have to be an Arctic Wolf client with all the other services. We want to make sure we educate you about those because there's a lot of value in those. But this is a way that you can begin this relationship and ultimately get that incident response plan implemented. Minimal investment. This is super affordable. Again, you're not buying big buckets of hours. That's not the purpose here. The purpose here is to give you a tool that you can dynamically maintain, get set up, as Bob shared earlier. And that 1 hour SLA, that is so critical. And especially going back to your cyber carrier, your cyber insurance vendor, and letting them know we have this incident response plan, we have this relationship with Arctic Wolf, and we have that 1 hour SLA. Super, super important. Roadmap to action. So again, we're going to show you that escalation path, how this would all work. And, you know, the last one is, after today's call, shoot me an email, reach out, give us a phone call. Let us show you how we can actually do this. And again, I'm confident 30 days from today, we could have this up and running for you if you wanted to get this done that quickly. Or if you want to learn more, we can definitely set up a call and kind of go through it with you as well. I suspect, Bob, that there's probably some credit unions out there that have an incident response plan or maybe already have a retainer with another vendor. Let's talk about that, because again, we're not dumping big buckets of hours that you're trying to figure out how to use in December and all of that. So it's a different approach. It's a more modern approach, right? So that's what we've done. That brings us to the end, right, Bob?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today, Lee. I enjoyed talking to you and to your credit union customers, and I look forward to working with you and your customers going forward.
Yeah, Bob, thank you so much for helping out with this. And again, we really value our relationship with Arctic Wolf. Thank you to all the Arctic Wolf team members for helping us out with this webinar today. Kate and her team did a great job. We appreciate all of that. And, you know, again, we can help. So reach out, let us know what your needs are. Let's have that conversation. And again, let's not just check that box. I hate doing that. Let's if you have an incident response plan in place, let's see if we can improve it. But most importantly, these events are really slamming credit unions right now. Let's make sure that we're prepared ahead of time. So, all right. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Lee. Take care.
Thanks, Kate. Okay.